Thank you for staying with us, and we've just been finding out more about human design with Glenda Anderson. Glenda, I know some of the chats we've had in the past, one of the things that you talk about when people are in relationship,
Yes.
about sharing a bed or not. Can you...
Oh, this really plugs people
buttons,
in.
doesn't
Oh,
it?
absolutely. Absolutely. We're so conditioned that if we're in a relationship with somebody, that there's something wrong with the relationship if we're not sharing a bed with them. And from human design's perspective, our auras, each person's aura has a very unique function. And when we sleep at night, we actually need to be in our own space so we can recuperate and regenerate properly. And if we're sleeping next to someone all the time, we can't actually recuperate and regenerate properly.
Nor can they.
And nor can they. And I know several people who have experimented with this, and they've actually discovered that their sex lives improved when they moved into separate rooms.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, they had better energy.
Yeah.
They were more interested in each other because the person wasn't there all the time. And it's quite funny to watch that, you know. So there's a difference between sex and sleeping together. And the whole thing of people think that it's really intimate to sleep in the same bed with someone. And I guess there is a certain intimacy to it, but it's actually not healthy. You can still have a very deep level of intimacy with someone without being asleep next to them.
All the time?
Yes.
Because you're not saying not to.
No, we're not saying not to. There is the odd design where we would probably go, oh, that's a really bad idea, depending on how their energies work together.
To sleep together or not?
Yeah, yeah. Like to not, you know, some people, you look at their design and you just go, you two sleeping together is really bad.
Can you pinpoint or?
There are things where, well, a projector and a generator, because the projector, your body's energy works in a very soft way, and a generator's energy is very fiery and it's powerful. It's like a motor that's always pumping along, and it pumps along even when we're asleep.
Okay.
So for a projector, sleeping next to a generator, it's quite exhausting. You would wake up exhausted.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you're also saying that, you know, over the generations and over the centuries, that wealthy people always had their own rooms.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you share a bit about that?
Well, it's an economic consideration, and I have actually had clients in the past who were quite wealthy and they did have separate rooms. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, and you like each other. But I think it is purely economic. You know, we have the old tribal system where everyone slept together, but we're evolving out of that. So it was more the people with the money. And even in our culture now, the people with the money, they will have their separate rooms. And
okay. Because I know also you were saying that, you know, you just mentioned then we have evolved. You know, there was a time that we were more tribal, more community, and we were sleeping in each other's auras, so to speak. Then, and I guess we don't have to go into details, but the energy has shifted on the planet.
Absolutely.
And this started happening a couple of hundred years ago, didn't it?
1791, I think. The date could be wrong. I'm a little bit dyslexic, so you might want to check the date, people. But it was when Uranus was discovered, and that was the advent of a evolutionary change in us that is still taking place. And there will be another shift in that evolutionary energy in 2027. Where we are going to change how we do our spirituality.
And when's that coming in again? 2027?
2027.
Okay, so where are we kind of at the moment then with
We're in the middle of that.
Which means?
We're in the middle of that evolvement, which means we've gone from being one type of consciousness to, and we're in the middle of becoming another type of consciousness. We've got our foot in both camps. We're still back here in the old, I'm not sure the words to use, but in the old ways, the old traditions of, you know, everybody being together and doing everything together, and a bit like, you know, all working for the man and getting a gold watch at the end and all that sort of stuff. And we're moving into, you know, after 2027, a lot of that's going to change, and it'll take a while because evolution doesn't happen overnight. But we will have the opportunity to start to do life very differently. And we're also coming to the end of a very long cycle where we have been building institutions and planning things. We've got all of the infrastructures for our cities and all sorts of things, and politics and all sorts of stuff. But the energy that has built that for the last 3,000 years is coming to an end. And I've got, you know, I can't predict because human design's not about prediction. It just says the energy is going to change, and who knows what we will do with it.
Any ideas though?
It's about spirituality really becoming internal. There's a lot of talk nowadays, oh, you know, spirituality's within or whatever. The children born after 2027 will have the opportunity for that to be true for them. And that's why it's really important for me to get human design out there, and that's one of the main things with human design. We talk about a lot, it's for children. Adults, we love dealing with adults and helping adults live their design, but helping the children who are going to be the parents to these kids after 2027 so that they can guide them and be good parents, because these children are going to be very different to what we have at the moment. There's no prediction. They're going to be different.
Yeah.
They're going to do emotions differently. They're going to communicate very differently.
Are we talking telepathically?
Absolutely.
Okay, tell more.
Well,
now we're getting into it.
I know you're getting into it, but there's no absolute with this, because we're not there yet.
Yeah.
And humans are extremely strange creatures. We are going in the direction at the moment that could happen, but we're living in a very changeable, volatile time on our planet. You know, anything could happen between then and now. But there's the potential there for, you know, after the next generations to really, really become more spiritual and actually get out of the structured, planned, materially oriented world that we've created.
Okay, so this is part of the birthing process.
Yeah.
Is this part of the butterfly?
Well, part of the
Effect, the
butterfly.
transformation?
Everyone has their own butterfly effect, I think. Some people more so than other.
Okay.
But yes, there's a change that we're going through where it is like the butterfly and the cocoon. A lot of us undergo it personally at different phases of our lives, but also globally. I think we're definitely in that phase. And the butterfly's in the cocoon. We can't see what's going on in the cocoon. We've got no idea. But once that butterfly comes out of the cocoon, then we'll go, oh, that's what's happening. And it's really important to, no matter how tempting it is for us to not try and cut the butterfly out of its cocoon, or its wings will never stretch and fly. Yes,
I found that interesting when you said that.
Yeah, that's, you know, some person experimented with that on some poor little butterfly. Says me, who pulled bugs apart when I was a kid. But I was a child, I take no responsibility. And yeah, by actually cutting the butterfly out of its cocoon and not letting it struggle through, its wings didn't stretch and they can't fly.
And there is that thing too with the butterfly, it almost dies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In that challenge, of breaking forth. Yeah.
It's a huge struggle.
Yeah.
And that, you know, and that's something with humans. We avoid those things a lot of the time. We don't like the change. We don't want to be the butterfly in the cocoon where we don't know what's going on. We want to control it. And surrendering to that's really the only thing you can do.
Or do avoidance.
Yes, surrender or avoidance.
Yeah, and avoidance is, you know, the drugs, the whatever, on the outer physical level.
Absolutely.
Rather than...
Yeah, there's a million ways we can avoid.
We've become good at that on this planet.
Absolutely.
We'll take another break and come back for the last part of our conversation with Glenda. Stay with us.